Aye.
All right, we were in executive session to interview a couple of our part-time officers for a full-time position, and we took no actions. Public be heard?
None.
Nobody has anything to say?
No.
All right. Couple of things. I think first I'll start with the coronavirus. Just to give the public, and I talked to some of the board, but to give the rest of the board an update of where we are. The county, we've been meeting with the county, or I should say having phone conferences with the county on a regular basis. Every day at 1 o'clock we get updates from them. They do have information that we've posted on Facebook that gives facts and information, contact numbers, which is COVID, COVID-19 at co.ulster.ny.us. We also have on our Facebook and the town website, and I don't have it right here in front of me, but it's contact information for the state health department as well, which you can get information, but they're pretty much in sync with each other. In all the information that I keep reading, I think that the biggest takeaway is just to be smart, to avoid people who are ill, to wash your hands with soap and water and wash them again. Every piece of literature that I've seen has suggested that, so that's just an important one. And if you're not feeling well, to stay home, take some time off. If you do believe you have you have the possibility of the illness, the recommendation is to call 911, and they will dispatch the local ambulance with the proper warnings, and they'll know the protocol to follow to get you down to the hospital. The symptoms include fever, cough, a dry cough I'm told, and shortness of breath. It's a respiratory issue. At this point, there's one confirmed case in the county of Ulster. Presently, there are 2 people who are under mandatory quarantine and 16 who have volunteered to be quarantined for up to 2 weeks. There is a protocol. None of our schools are closed at this point. The protocol that was developed with the Department of Education in the state is that should an employee, teacher, or student of the school district get sick, that the school would be closed down for 24 hours for cleaning, and then there'd be a reassessment, and there'd be a decision made as whether to open or not. The county at this point is not making any recommendation, or I should say they're not mandating any closures or any limiting of mass gatherings. They do, however, they're set up for the towns can make requests of different events that are going on, and the county will make a recommendation as to whether it would be wise to cancel or to go on. And their 4 criteria in evaluating is whether the event is an indoor or outdoor event, whether there's room for a roughly 6-foot radius between individuals, whether there'll be a high number of seniors, and whether there'll be folks traveling from outside the country. And these are for events of over 100 people. So I did put in for one, it was the Writers' Festival, which actually ended up being canceled anyway. But there's the possibility, if it was recommended by the county or the town, that they could get some financial assistance, because they've laid out quite a bit of money for that already. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, I'll just add that the town is... I instructed last week for the maintenance department to do double duty, including on a daily basis going through all the buildings and wiping down all the surfaces that one would touch, particularly doorknobs, light switches, toilet seats, toilet flushers, the sink knobs and whatnot. So they've been going around and all the maintenance has been spending part of every day taking care of that. So, Iris, you had a question?
Yeah, do you know what town in Ulster the confirmed case is?
Rochester.
Rochester.
Yes. So, the county has to, this disclosure guidelines that they have to follow. If there's a case in a town, they will contact the supervisor to inform us, but they can't tell us who it is or where they
All
are.
right. But you said it was in Ulster, Rochester's
The town of Rochester.
town of
Yeah, town of Rochester,
Town of
Ulster. So, knock on wood, so far that's it. South of here, they have quite a bigger problem. And
Yeah,
New Rochelle is now under some voluntary quarantine for a mile radius. So,
With the National Guard.
with the National Guard, yes. Which is a little scary, but, everything I've read too is, that the best advice is that, people shouldn't panic, that the odds of contracting the disease are still pretty low. And, just eat well, get a lot of sleep. If you do feel a little run down or tired, rest. And if you feel like you're getting sick, hibernate. So, any questions from the board?
Well, no, I guess I do want to add though, it does seem the survival rate is pretty good. It's bad that there's a percentage of deaths that there are. However, the survival rate does seem pretty good. And I know they've also said they don't have a cure, so it's really prevention and isolation. So we all do the things to prevent. And as you say, if people are sick, they need to self-isolate.
The reason I sent out the email to the board yesterday, though, is I'm also very concerned about our employees and making sure they're getting what they need in terms of supplies. I know supplies are tough to get, things like sanitizers and wipes. But if they got a request, we should do, obviously, we are, Pam is, doing everything we can to protect them. I don't know, even down to, I saw some towns are wiping down police cars because of the types of, sometimes it's not the most savory type of person in the back seat. Also, it's up to departments like Lynn's or the court or whatever in terms of distance, social distance, 6 feet and all of those things and what they want to establish. But they're exchanging money, they're close with people, so, whatever the employees need, we need to give them.
Yeah, well, we met last week. I had the department head meeting, and we had a lengthy discussion about this. One of the other things too is that, I suggested, I said that we typically, if you're out for 3 days, you need to produce a doctor's note. And we said, look, we're going to waive that. They don't need to go to the doctor. We don't want to clog up the doctor's offices too. So, we're all going to go on an honor system, and if you do feel well or feel sick and need to take some time off, just take it off and don't worry about that. I think one of the things we're running a little short on are the Clorox wipes that they use. So we are looking at getting bleach, and that's going to make it a little bit more difficult. They're going to have to mix and then go around with buckets and sponges and rags and whatnot, but Pam was actually going to be going out tonight down in Kingston.
I said Pam was going to be going out with buckets.
No, I don't think she would do that.
Well, I know, Richard, your email also, I think, talked about rubber gloves, that employees did want rubber gloves because you're accepting money and...
There are rubber gloves in all the offices available if they so desire.
Also, where we can, if we got Pharrell or whatever, put it out for the public as well, into different places in town that the public uses, like the community center, things like that.
That we're running a little short on, but hopefully the governor now has got the inmate, I guess, working on creating.
Well, he's getting some pushback on that one.
Is he?
It's like 70 proof, isn't it?
So they're drinking.
I want to kind of further on what Richard says and say thank you to like the town clerks and the highway and the maintenance and all our employees that are basically on the front line. And so if you see them, tell them thank you.
Will do.
Where's Lynn?
No, you're one of them. You don't-
No, I'll tell the rest of them.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Because I'm now trying to catch up with everything. Has there been a discussion about if there are any of the folks that are, homeless folks, that, if they get sick, is there like a plan for that, or
Everybody go to the hospital.
just take them to the
You-
hospital?
you
Call
get-
911?
Yeah, and the ones who take them to the hospital. And that's what they're afraid of. They got lucky with the one patient they had. He showed up at the hospital, but there was communication, so they weren't caught off guard. I think what the county really is looking for is that, to get an ambulance out there that's prepared to deal with it and not walking in blindly. One of the other things, that we mandated to the police, because they go on a lot of these medical calls, is none of the police officers are walking in there, particularly if there's any kind of flu-like symptom. They're to wait outside and assist if need be. So, any other questions from the public?
How's the senior rec program is?
Glad you brought that up. So I met with the committee yesterday, and again, I to some degree we're following the county's lead, and we have the same conversation every day. At this point, they're not suspending any of their senior programs, but what I did do with the committee yesterday was to direct them to direct their instructors that they should be cautious, they should be aware if there are individuals who are coming to the class that have any of the symptoms, that they need to be asked to leave, they can't stay there. And, I made them aware that the possibility is there that we could end up closing our program. Temporarily. They mentioned, and I agreed, that, this is an important outlet for our seniors. It's an exercise for a lot of them. It's socializing for a lot of them. So as long as we, feel that we're still in a good spot and still relatively safe, we're going to continue to keep that open. The bus trip, I know this afternoon, and that really isn't ours. That's the senior rec is doing that on their own. But it sounds like, and maybe you know more, Nick, that might get canceled.
I haven't heard anything.
My wife got a nice, Edie sent out a nice email, because my wife goes to a couple of the programs, and it was very nicely done. And she, I believe, did mention the bus trip, and she's trying to figure out if people are backing out now, or, who's still in, who's still out, who's out.
I know there were a lot
Make
of
a decision going forward.
Yeah. And that was, I suggested this morning that they just keep talking about it and not do anything at the moment. I get the Writers' Festival. They had people coming in from all over the country, and I think before they expended any more funds and booked anything else, I think they made the right decision there.
Excuse me, though, we also, from our office, we've been telling people for the senior rec program that if they feel uneasy about it, they should stay home.
They should stay home,
They
yeah.
have to use their own discretion, but if they think that there's, if they want to go and there's space enough for them in the community center, they don't, the 6
The
feet
radius
and
is
everything
there.
else, that's a no-brainer, there's no problem there. But if they feel uneasy about it, they should just stay home and wait till they
And
come.
most of their classes are not super packed.
No, that's
So
what
it's-
yeah.
mean, none of them are 100. I have talked to a couple of the different places. The Bearsville Theater, they're getting ready for a potential grand opening. And, I just put it out there that it may come to pass that we need to put some of this stuff off. They were very understanding. I know that Levon Home Studios, I saw on Facebook, they took some of the town recommendations and, about cleaning and maintaining and asking, really, if you don't feel well, stay home. You do everybody a favor. I think everybody's on top of this. I think Pat Ryan, our county executive, is doing a great job, and there's great communication back and forth, so I'm very happy to see all that.
And did you say, Bill, you may have said this already at the very beginning, we're posting things we get from the county as far as information on the town website,
Yes.
right?
So, and some of it I've sent to you, so I'm limiting what I post on the town website to either something that comes directly from the state or from the county. Because, I mean, we're all getting stuff.
Oh, yeah, I'm just,
You
yeah.
sent something interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
but it's not official, yeah. so
Right,
I'm
that's
saying
what I
it's
was
not
saying, that's what I was
official.
saying to let folks know.
Yes.
They already said that they can go to
Well,
the
we didn't mention
website.
the county website, which was, I think you said COVID-19, did it have a dash in it? Or was it just COVID-19?
COVID-19, COVID 19 at co.ulster.ny.us.
Yeah, that sounds like looks like an email address. Is that an email address or a website?
That's an email address that you can email questions.
Ah, okay, cool.
And you can go on the county website and they have
Okay.
a website dedicated to all the questions,
Yeah.
facts, and
Yeah. Well, there's the
fiction.
World Health Organization is another website. A lot of people go to the WHO, World Health Organization.
There's also a coronavirus.gov now.
Oh, cool.
Federal government.
There's also gonna be, in the county, the Department of Health is looking for volunteers to answer calls, to field calls. And, let me just read this real quick. There's a training for, all interested volunteers on Wednesday, the 11th, tomorrow from 1 to 4 at the Department of Health, 239 Golden Hill in Kingston. They will give you a script, to answer the calls. The volunteer shifts are from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., 1 to 5, or 1 to 5 in the afternoon, starting Thursday, March 12th, and it'll be 7 days a week. So if you can help with that, the phone number to call is 845-481-0331. Again, that's 845-481-0331. Or you can email volunteer@ulstercorps.org. That's volunteer@ulstercorps.org. So if any folks are looking to ways that can help.
Do we happen to have a number of, the number of the hotline itself? That's the number if you want to help, but is that, what, any idea what the number of the hotline is?
I think if you go on the county website, that information is on there.
One last thing for me, you sent us, I believe you sent, I don't know, there's a letter from the State Health, Commissioner of Health, which I
Yes.
didn't think about, but he mentions and tells you what to do, wash your hands, all those things, but to remind your residents to gather and update your home preparedness kits to include a thermometer, decongestants, anti-inflammatory drugs, and acetaminophen for fevers. Now, when you get old, like me, you usually have these things around, but I gotta check. I'm gonna have, but it's a good idea to be prepared at home as well.
Absolutely.
Laura, were you asking for what number now?
You said that there was the number to call if you want to help with the hotline, but you happen to have the hotline number itself.
For health department, like if you feel like you have symptoms?
Yeah, the same hotline, that everybody's gonna be working, the volunteers are gonna be working the hotline. What number will people call to get to?
It looks like here, I'm reading 845-340-3150.
Okay. is
So
that-
anyone experiencing a fever, cough, shortness of breath, should contact Ulster County Health Department.
That's the health department number.
Yeah. And for general questions about the virus, call New York State Department of Health. That number is 1-888-364-3065. Again, that's 888-364-3065.
There's one other thing that I would just mention to the public is that while Facebook can be entertaining, it's not typically the most reliable source. And actually it doesn't do us any good right now because people are biting into these rumors they hear. One of them was about the drum circle, that seven members of a family who just came from Spain were whisked away on Sunday evening to Albany Med because they all had coronavirus. It's just not true. It didn't happen. And that just feeds the hysteria. If you do have questions, you can feel free to call my office, 679-2113, extension 17. if you do hear a rumor, you know, I'm happy to try and look into it and dispel it as quickly as possible, or if it's correct, I can get you the correct information. But please don't spread stuff on Facebook until you have it verified through a reliable source. So, any other questions? Thank you for that information. The other item I just wanted to briefly discuss, so you all got the email. A while back I made a recommendation that the town consider purchasing an electric vehicle. You know, there's been talk about this for ages, and up until last December we really didn't have a need. The assessor's car in December kind of died, and it's been slow these winter months, and he and the two building inspectors have been able to share. But it's my recommendation that we look into purchasing an electrical vehicle. So I did go on this estate platform where we can get a bid. I did get a bid for a Nissan Leaf, and I landed on the Leaf after talking with Amanda Laval and Julia Blaylock and David Gross and a few others about the different possibilities. The two that were mentioned were the Leaf and
Chevy Bolt?
No, the Mitsubishi Highlander, I think it was. That's a four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. We presently have two four-wheel drive SUVs for those departments, and you know, we all agree that, you know, there can be sharing depending on who's going where any particular day. So the three vehicles would be for those two departments, but the electric car would also be available because, again, it doesn't go out all the time. If somebody needed to go to a conference somewhere down in Poughkeepsie or Albany, it's got a range of about 150 miles, which would get it in that direction. The Chevy Volts,
There's a Volt and a Bolt, and one of them is a hybrid, and one of them is all electric.
yeah,
The Volt is the hybrid.
the Volt is the hybrid. Yeah, I think that's right. I also think that the Volt is no longer being made, is what I heard,
Well, the one that's, the all-electric one, though.
is the Bolt. That-
Which is more expensive, as you said.
Correct.
Yeah.
By about $8,000, I'm told. I didn't put a bid in for that.
Right.
So the bid did come back at $27,000 and change. You got that in the email. We will also put in for a $5,000 grant from the DEC. There's a $2,000 NYSERDA grant that's already been applied to the price. So our purchase price would be a little over $22,000. Any thoughts, questions?
I think it's a nice idea. I like it.
Yeah, I like the idea, but there's a big difference between the Leaf and a Highlander in size.
Correct. This is-
The Leaf is a fairly small car.
Correct.
Is that suitable for people like Mark?
He drives a Prius right now.
Yeah, I think the Leaf is smaller, but I'm not sure.
You know, I went down and sat in one, and I found it to be comfortable enough, and
Well, how much do they have to hold with them? I mean, they have a bigger vehicle, but do they?
No, they don't hold much. I just wanted to-
not much at all. It's usually, you know, Mark typically goes out with, I think Karen goes out with them all the time, so it's the two of them. It's a
I guess my
four-passenger
question
car.
is, are they okay with the Leaf? If they're okay, then I'm okay.
Yeah, we've talked about it, and they feel it'll be fine. The one time that there may be a slight drawback, and it's more for the building department, is, you know, I'm not so sure how the Leaf would handle a long muddy driveway up McDaniels Road. But again, there are two four-wheel drives, and they've presently been operating with two vehicles and done quite a nice job at sharing and scheduling. So I'm pretty confident that that shouldn't be an issue.
There's actually two different models, the Leaf and the Leaf Plus.
This is just the Leaf.
Because the Leaf Plus has more horsepower.
Mhm.
Yeah, if they're happy, if they're okay with it, they gotta use it.
Julia Blaylock, who's the chair of the WEC, has one, and her only critique was the range, and she does a lot of longer distance. Her Leaf is an older one that only gets 110, so we're getting 150, and again, we're only going to be driving around town. So 50 miles in a day would be a lot for this vehicle.
Well, if the Leaf, should we be pricing the Leaf Plus and seeing, because we do have a lot of terrain, and maybe the Leaf would go more places, and then we wouldn't have to do as much sharing if the Leaf, do we think that the Plus is worth looking into?
If you want, I can. I would say no. I think
Well, it's more money, I'm sure.
it's more money,
He
yeah.
said they already have two four-wheel drive vehicles, so
Right.
they
This is,
can just plan it amongst themselves. And
yeah, I don't think that it's an issue. I think we're safe.
And
But
actually,
I take my direction.
and actually, the less horsepower you have, the better you go in snow and mud and stuff like that.
Right.
You don't have the,
You don't rev it up?
well, if you wanna throw some big rooster
My wife
tails,
does.
if you wanna throw some rooster tails on whoever's trying to pull you out.
Press on the gas more, I'll break free, right?
Yeah.
You know, the assessor goes out less frequently in the wintertime and can pick and choose his days. Building department makes a schedule. You know, they'll make an appointment for Tuesday at 10, and they've got a builder who's waiting to continue his work, so it's a little bit more critical they get out. The assessor can pick and choose, and if it's a snowy day, he can wait till next week. So there's a little bit more flexibility on his part. So,
Do you want to include the price of the charging station in this, or do it all at once, or?
Just plug it into a regular
Plug it
extension
in,
cord.
right. Well, we got to put on, you know,
initially, we'll just plug it into a 110,
it's 110, 120,
right, a standard outlet.
and we'll just put an outlet out here.
Yes. Now, we can get a heavier duty, like a dryer outlet, if we find that it's not charging enough. The salesperson, when I described what we were going to be doing, felt that we should be sufficient, because we won't be depleting more than 50% in a day, and then it should charge back. We do have the option for a couple of $100 to put a bigger charger in here if we need to. So
And have we figured out where the charger's gonna go, where the outlet will go?
it'll be either in one of the garages. We'll just
Oh,
mount it
in
on
one
the
of the,
outside.
it'll be in a garage.
It'll
No.
on one of
On
the
the
garages
outside.
outside.
Okay.
So they'll pull up either the one down below.
Right.
Probably makes the most sense.
Yeah,
It'll keep this area a little less cluttered.
yeah. But I guess I thought maybe we just wanted to assign a parking spot for the electric vehicle so that they can always get,
We would.
We'll have to.
And in fact, that's why the lower garage would be better, because that's technically not a parking spot. Al needs to keep that open, but if it was a town vehicle parking there overnight to charge, it wouldn't be a problem.
yeah, cool.
So,
I'm just thinking, you know, what we're going to do in the future, we're going to add on to the electric fleet. We want to make sure we're ready for more, I mean, additional outlets.
I think it would be easy enough to add to it when we got to that point. And again, right now, we're only doing a simple 110 plug.
Yeah, I think we just do the first one, see how it goes.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
All right, so I will put that order in.
Need a vote?
It'll just be a voucher that'll come through. I can make a resolution.
No, I don't care, I just didn't know.
No, I can do that, a resolution.
Well, if Lauren and Reggie want to weigh in?
We'll have a vote.
I like it, I like the idea.
Be it resolved to authorize the supervisor to affect the contract to purchase a Nissan Bolt, or excuse me,
Leaf.
Nissan Leaf from Kingston Nissan.
Second it?
For the price,
We said 27,000 bid.
27,500, just under 27,500.
Second?
I heard Lauren seconded it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll work on that tomorrow.
While we're on the subject, you want to briefly mention or talk about the charging stations in town?
Yes, so I did send,
Let's put a price on.
I did send out an email a while back about charging there, and I have set up so that we're all ready to accept charging if we can come to agreement on how. We can either do it by time or by the kilowatt. The kilowatts, in some ways fair, you pay for what you use. The only thing is, the one issue that we see is the people
Yeah.
camping out there.
There's parking there, yeah. You gotta do it like.
You gotta do it by, yeah, I agree. If you don't do it by the hour, the car's gonna sit there.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I will do is have a discussion with them tomorrow or Thursday and find out the parameters of the time, and I'll come back with a resolution for next Tuesday to set the specific amount.
So when you say do it by time, what you mean is...
Let me
Well,
talk to
let me
that.
ask my question then.
Okay.
So my question is, does time mean that's the amount of time that the car is plugged in?
Let me ask.
Because
how
the
that-
amount of time the car's sitting in the spot it was not plugged in, right? Because you don't have any way to measure
Well,
that.
I think what happens is though, the people are plugging it in and leaving for the night.
And just
leaving
leaving it
there.
plugged.
So my guess is it's the time plugged in, but let me ask the question.
Okay.
Let me get that information.
Okay.
Okay, and we're gonna talk about STRs this week or
Well, next week.
next week? Okay. So one other thing that you and I were talking about earlier today.
What is, so we get charged basically just like any electrical appliance we're using. I mean,
From Central Hudson?
Central Hudson.
Correct, yes, it's, yeah.
There's no way, I'm thinking of generating some funds for green type initiatives, so there's no way you can make it a nickel more or,
I think we could charge whatever we
Well,
want.
there's probably a going rate. I mean, you're probably, do you know what the county charge, do you know what other places charge? I mean, there's probably a going rate that we want, at least we want to know what the going rate is before we set our rate, I would think. If there is a way to
Yeah,
find
I'm just
out.
thinking, is there's a way we can fund some of the initiatives that are coming through lately?
Like the electric car.
You know, going to car, or,
I agree.
you know, whatever the task force is coming up with, and those types of things, or Earth Day, and doing, you know, if we could ship that to a fund and have it there for them, it'd be great.
We'll look into that. So I'll get information on both charging fees, but it sounds like most of us feel the time plugged in.
Well, I could go either way, so it sounds like people
Okay.
are,
Okay.
understand the reason for the time.
All right, got a couple of resolutions here. Whereas the Woodstock Town Board wishes to honor the memory of Councilman Steve Knight, and whereas Parkinson's disease is a progressive neurological movement disorder of the central nervous system, which has a unique impact on each patient, and whereas according to the Parkinson's Action Network, the Parkinson's Disease Foundation, the National Parkinson's Foundation, the American Parkinson's Disease Association, the National Institute of Health, there are over 1 million Americans diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and whereas symptoms include slowness, tremors, difficulty with balance, and speaking, rigidity, cognitive and memory problems, and whereas although new medicines and therapies may enhance life for some time for people with Parkinson's, more work is needed for a cure. Whereas increased education and research are needed to help find more effective treatments with fewer side effects and ultimately cure for Parkinson's disease. And whereas multidisciplinary approach to Parkinson's disease and care can include local wellness support and caregiver groups. And whereas April has been proclaimed as Worldwide Parkinson Awareness Month, for all to recognize the need for more research and help in dealing with the devastating effects of Parkinson's disease, therefore be it resolved, Woodstock Town Board does hereby proclaim April as Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month in the town of Woodstock.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved to waive the rental fee for the Woodstock Environmental Commission sponsored Woodstock Pollinators Pathway Project presentation at the Mescal Hornbeck Community Center on Tuesday, March 24th, 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved to amend Resolution 15-2020 to read, be it resolved to make the following appointments to the Woodstock Environmental Commission, WEC, Alex Balotto, term to expire 12/31/21, and Julia Blaylock, term to expire 12/31/21. Second for purpose.
Second.
So I think when I put this up, I may have added a year to their terms.
Ah,
So this is just to correct the expiration dates. All in favor?
Aye.
And the same thing here, be it resolved to amend Resolution 78-2020 to read, be it resolved to appoint Nick Fode to the WEC, term to expire 12/31/2020.
Second.
All in favor? Whereas the Woodstock superintendent has sent an RFPs to 3 companies for employee uniforms and rugs, and whereas 2 proposals were received, one from Uniforms USA and one from Ulster Uniforms, and whereas Uniforms USA came in with the lowest prices, therefore be it resolved to authorize the highway superintendent to sign a 4-year contract with Uniforms USA.
Purpose of discussion, second.
Go on.
No, just, how much is it?
You know that
It'd be helpful if we knew, the price tags on these things. I'm not against it, I'm just saying, just for our own knowledge.
honestly, I don't remember the 2 bids. You want me to go check?
No, but in the future, it'd be nice.
We can hold off on that, and I can walk over and check the...
No.
Okay, so you want to do it then? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Be resolved to hire John Van Baren as MEO for the town of Woodstock Highway Department at a rate of $20.91 effective March 9th, 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Whereas the town of Woodstock Building Department issued an order to remedy for the owners of 78 Spear Road, and whereas no action to remedy was taken by owners, therefore be it resolved to engage the services of Special Prosecutor John McGovern to pursue legal action. Second, for purpose of discussion.
Second for purpose of discussion.
So, the owner showed up yesterday, and swearing that he had never seen any of the letters that were sent. So, I'm going to suggest that we vote on this so that we can be prepared. He has assured Ellen, and I believe has started to do cleanup, but we would like to make sure that the process continues, because this has been a long time coming. So I would say that I'm not going to engage. You know me, I don't spend
Can we
money.
give them an official deadline?
Like 30 days or what, 2 weeks or whatever?
The building inspector asked him.
For over a long time.
Yes, yeah, it has been, and that's why I wouldn't give him much time at all. I think if the forward progress stops, then we have John step right in and deal with it.
No, I agree, but I would give them something like 30 days or
Well,
whatever.
one option we would have is to table this for 30 days.
The building inspector requested that we do this so that she has a club.
Okay.
So then we're not having to come back in a month, at least they can jump in.
But I'm just saying, I think there should be something official sent to this person, so he knows he's got 30 days.
I can have Ellen do that. Ellen,
From today, you mean, okay.
Yeah.
I can have Ellen and Butch send.
Otherwise, this goes forward.
They will move, yeah.
Yeah, tell them we're not gonna pull the trigger, but there's a round in the chamber.
Okay. Perfect. And so I'll have Ellen send that out tomorrow. All in favor?
So we'll put Lauren.
If you want to use it.
She likes your phrasing.
So are you gonna vote on
Yes.
all ayes to do that?
All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Yeah. And I want to make one more comment though, because one of the things that we did find as part of the comprehensive plan and what we heard was that people, if this does go to court, that a lot of times cases are then dismissed. And so I guess I'm hoping that, I don't know who can let us know how this goes, because my thought of the answer for that is look at the specifics of each case, find out why it got dismissed, try to learn from that so that we can have cases that do stand in the future. So I guess I would be curious if we do have to get John McGovern involved, if it does go to court, I'd be interested to see how this case goes, because I know there were some complaints that didn't. There's complaints about lack of enforcement, and then people that are supposed to do the enforcement say, yeah, well we take all the time to do this, we go to court, and then it gets thrown out. And the people in court say, well, they take every case on a case by case, on the merit of each case.
You know, what I would say is that, the law is very specific, and you need to dot your i's and cross your t's, and building inspectors are not necessarily, or town board members are not schooled in prosecuting. John is an ADA and understands his way around the courtroom. my guess would be that we'll see better results.
Okay.
And that's no slight on the building inspectors, I think they
No,
work
exactly.
hard
So
at it.
it's just my hope is, yeah, so I'd be interested to see if there's any way to communicate how this goes. If it gets resolved, so we never have to bring in the prosecutor, great. If we do bring in the prosecutor, I just like to hear how this goes, so we can kind of watch and see, case by case, are they getting dismissed or are they getting the right support?
Well, hopefully we don't have to do it too often, but I'll let you know how this one, how we prevail.
Do you need a
Perfect.
resolution on sending the letter? Or just like-
No, I think Ellen will just send it out. That's
Well,
fine.
maybe it should come from you, or both of you.
What can building, we're gonna come from the building department, the 30 days?
We've just taken an action, so it's our action that would take it.
So, what she,
I don't care.
yeah, I know,
I'm just saying, do you?
But Ellen could send a letter that says this action was just taken at the town board meeting,
Yeah.
and by the way, in 30 days,
the board has agreed to hold off for 2 weeks
Who's it?
that's me.
to give you
That's a special
opportunity.
number, but I'll look at it later.
In the meantime, that's just all I
Is
do.
that, oh,
Let's see what I can do with my phone.
It's very quiet.
Oh, God.
All right, this is a long resolution.
But we'll be back.
Whereas the George Clinton Memorial Bridge, the Kingston Langston Bridge, spans the Hudson River between the city of Kingston and the town of Wynecliffe. Whereas the Kingston Wynecliffe Bridge and other bridges across the river in the Mid-Hudson region operated,
You okay there?
yeah, just the wording is a little off, but this was, anyway, by the
That's
New
right,
York
Bill, that we had Mid-Hudson region operated by the New York. That's right.
Okay, State
service,
Bridge
yeah.
Authority serve as vital links to the lives and commerce of numerous residents and businesses located in the town of Woodstock who utilize the bridge crossings of the river on a daily basis or even more frequently. Whereas Governor Andrew Cuomo in his 2020-21 budget address has announced legislation to merge the New York State Bridge Authority, which presently operates 5 bridges across the river, including the Kingston-Wynecliffe Bridge, into the New York State Thruway Authority, and whereas the proposal would in fact abolish the Bridge Authority when all obligations to the holders of the bonds have been paid in full or otherwise fully met and discharged, and the Thruway Authority would absorb the Bridge Authority, and whereas it has been reported that the federal law passed in 1987 states that tolls collected in the New Beacon Bridge can only be used to operate, maintain, and repair the Bridge Authority's bridges, and whereas the Bridge Authority has been run efficiently, the bridges are well maintained and boast among the lowest tolls in the nation, and whereas although the merger proposal has been justified by claims that was result in operational efficiencies, the primary reason for the consideration of the merger is the New York State Thruway Authority's announcement of budget deficits, which are reported to be growing at an astonishing rate due largely to the cost of the new Mario Cuomo Tappan Zee Bridge, and whereas the merger would likely, in fact, negatively affect the Bridge Authority's Hudson River crossings and lead our residents and businesses subsidizing the cost of the Thruway Authority's improvements outside of our area through higher tolls. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Woodstock, in its capacity as governing body of the town, does hereby oppose the enactment of the provisions of the executive budget of the state of New York for 2020-21, providing for the merger of the New York State Bridge Authority into the New York State Thruway Authority. And be it further resolved that certified copies of the resolution be delivered by the town clerk to the Honorable Andrew J. Cuomo, Governor, the Honorable George A. Amador Jr., Senator for the 46th District, and the Honorable Kevin Cahill, Assemblyman for the 103rd District, and be it further resolved that the aforesaid resolution shall take effect immediately.
Second.
Purpose of discussion.
Who wrote this?
This came from the Supervisors Association, Ulster County Supervisors Association.
Or was they getting it from you?
They wrote it.
Well, no, they take some political shots in here, so that's a little
Yeah.
suspicious.
Well,
I mean,
the governor's
they
taking
don't know that much about it.
Yeah.
Well, they're just, why not taking political shots?
Yeah, Mario Cuomo Bridge.
But that is a fact. I mean, that's, the expenses have gone up with the Thruway Authority.
Well, they say it's a fact, but I don't know if it's a fact.
the bridge costs billions and billions of dollars, and the thruway is now running a deficit. You know what irks me is that if he was truly concerned about saving money and having operating efficiencies, then merge the thruway department and the DOT together, because they're doing the same thing. Whereas the Bridge Authority is a more local organization. We're going to see increases in tolls if this goes through. And you know, I'm not a huge fan of memorializing resolutions, but I think, you know, this one is a little bit more, because I think if enough communities come out opposed to this, I think we can make an effect on the budget and force him to reconsider. Next week, I sent you one today, a second one, where, you know, he's trying to roll out green energy projects, and where he is making an attempt to bypass local planning and usurp home rule. And again, you know, I think if the towns stand together, I think we can affect this. You know, I hate the ones that go to Washington that nobody ever looks at, right? But I think this one can have a real effect here. So, I just told the association I'd bring it to the board. So, whatever your pleasure.
I don't know enough about it, frankly, to weigh in.
Okay.
I'd like to study it more. I mean, after I read about it in the paper, but that's, you know, I don't know if I assume these things are true, but I don't know if they're true.
Well, do you want me to hold off? And I did send this.
It's up to other people.
Let's hold a week.
Okay, it is part of the budget, so there's not, time is of,
Do we have a week or no?
we have a week, but I mean, the budget,
Well, the governor's budget, you're saying, is probably gonna get approved pretty soon,
April 1st.
is what you're saying.
April 1st is what they're pushing for, but they're wheeling and dealing as we speak. And our local representatives are all fighting to get this out of there. Now, representatives from Buffalo or Syracuse or New York City aren't going to care, except that this is a bit of a home rule thing. And I think that's what's going to hook a lot of them. If they see the local municipalities coming out in favor or opposed to it, it's,
So from
well,
my,
it's not home rules per se, but it's a local issue.
yeah, so my position
You're
is,
right, it's not-
I'd be willing to vote yes tonight, I'm ready to vote yes tonight, but it's up to everybody else. And if his budget's supposed to be done by early April, and we wait a week, then there's a difference between us deciding on the 10th of March versus the 17th, and then by the time letters go out, are they gonna get read? I'm a little uncomfortable with cutting it close by waiting a week, but it's a group decision, it's a board decision.
I read about it in the news myself. I can't say, you know, as far as what Richard says, well, it's a fact. You know, I looked at all the money, the way it appeared just through the reporting that I heard was that the Bridge Authority was kind of doing well fiscally, and they're like kind of coming in to kind of take that over and said to tap into money and other things. So I'm with Laura. I would be in favor of voting yes, but I'm comfortable.
And we all know about the news. I mean, unless you've read it in the Woodstock Times, it's all suspect.
Nick Henderson didn't write it. Right.
Did you write any articles about the Bridge
But
Authority?
the Bridge Authority, no.
We could, Richard, if you want, you
I'll
know,
just abstain.
Actually, you want to pass it,
If you wanted to-
I'm not filled in on this, and, you know, I voted for something I don't really understand.
do you want to take a week, is what I'm asking.
I don't want to delay it if you guys think it's important.
Laura, what do you?
I'm not a huge fan of memorializing resolutions, and I don't see where this is gonna do anything, personally. But if you, I don't see any reason not to. I think it would be a good idea if they leave the Bridge Authority alone. So I vote for it, but I'm not enthusiastic, but I don't see it really doing anything.
I think let's just try to put some pressure, or at least to make it clear
Yeah, you know,
to the governor
if it does, that's great.
Okay. All right, then, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I'll abstain.
And so there's one next week that
I
I,
read that one, I agree with that one.
okay, so, but if anybody else,
I just simply,
I don't,
I want to learn
I
more
agree.
about this. I don't know about the issue, and I just want to make sure it's clean.
Well, my comment is, people know I have a day job, and I've seen this in my day job before, where it's a large company, and somebody absorbs a new organization that has money, and all of a sudden, they take the money and they redirect it because they have what they think is a greater purpose. So I feel like I've seen this in my day job, I've never approved it in my day job, and to me, I totally relate with what's happening here, where the bridges are working well, the money's coming in properly, we're able to meet our local needs because the bridges are working well, and I fully believe that what is stated in the resolution could happen, that once the money goes into a greater bucket, it'll go wherever the higher-ups decide to send it, and I don't think it's gonna be in our direction. So I just reading it, I get it because of what I see elsewhere.
thank you, Laura.
So I know this hasn't been the greatest year to drive across the Rockcliffe Bridge. It's been pretty
Well, I was
awful.
going to say,
And so, I mean, I don't want to, the bridge is already not there, but
Additional financial burden.
but it's been
Yeah.
rough with the potholes and, anyway.
yeah, I mean, I don't know about the maintenance and how, okay, never mind.
Be it resolved to authorize the supervisor of the town board, the supervisor of the town board, and the highway superintendent to sign the Highway 284 expenditure agreement for 2020. That was all sent out to you.
Yes, so I'll second that.
All in favor? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
So if you could all stop by in the next day or two, just sign that, that would be great.
Can we swing by on the way to our cars? Do you have it printed out?
I don't know if I have it printed out yet. I guess I could print it, the one off the, yeah, if everybody wants to stop in, I could print it if everybody's got a minute to do that. Whereas on January 22nd, 2002, the Woodstock Town Board, pursuant to Section 6-C of Municipal General Law as amended, established a highway equipment reserve type fund to finance the cost of acquisition of highway equipment as the need arises. Therefore, be it resolved to withdraw an amount up to $200,000 from the highway equipment capital reserve type fund for the following. 1, a new truck 12, a 2020 3500 heavy-duty pickup with plow up to $43,000. A new Bobcat track loader T770 up to $64,980.39. A new road widener offset roller up to $49,900. Replacement truck number 35, 1998 Chevy 1-ton utility up to $22,119.64, and a 40-inch planer high flow up to $20,000. And where's the transfer of up to $200,000 from the highway equipment reserve type fund is subject to a permissive referendum as it relates to Article 7 of the New York State Town Law. Be it further resolved, the town clerk is directed to place the following notice in the official newspaper of the town. On March 10th, 2020, Woodstock Town Board adopted a resolution authorizing the transfer of up to $200,000 from the highway equipment reserve type fund for the acquisition of highway equipment. This resolution is subject to permissive referendum pursuant to the provisions of Article 7, New York State Town Law, by order of the Woodstock Town Board. Second, for purpose of discussion.
Second.
So this is a list of equipment that Mike and his deputies have put together. I know in particular the one replacement truck 35, they're looking at a used vehicle that they're very excited about and want to see. Any other questions?
No, the offset roller's a very cool toy.
You've seen one before?
I think I have actually, yeah, but Mike explained it to me today.
Okay. Do you want to tell us about it?
Sure, it's a It's a roller that will go like on a wing, or it'll set off center and at an angle on the Bobcat.
Mm-hmm.
So that, because when they do shoulders on roads, they're on an angle, and if you're trying to roll that blacktop, you get that roller on an angle, and sometimes it doesn't end up so well, but this, the actual Bobcat stays on the flat surface,
Oh, wow.
and they can roll the shoulders with it. They also can then swing it around on the front and use it like a regular roller when they're doing it. So.
Okay.
And that goes hand in hand with Sawyer uses shoulder widener, which spreads the stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so they can swap it back and forth, and
Yes.
everybody can enjoy the toys.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Mike, be very appreciative. The last bit of business, I appoint Steve Williams to the Cemetery Task Force. Let's talk about that task force for a minute. So originally, when I set that up, it was because, nobody knew if that was going to be a 6-month deal or whether, it would be something where there'd be ongoing work. They do seem to have a full plate and I think a desire to continue on, so it's something that we could look at in making them a more formal commission, which would be adopted by resolution, and we would set term limits and whatnot, and then the board would be responsible for interviewing like we do on all the other boards. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I've been in favor of that all along, so I got no problem with that. I never understood the task force provision, so, so as the liaison, I go to all the meetings, they're working hard, they've raised money, they got money to spend, and I think they would feel very good about being set up as a permanent committee.
Well, I know when we first brought on the cemetery into the town, there was a ton of work to do, and we had to sort out what was where and who was where and who wasn't where and all that stuff. And so, and now we're kind of in a kind of a stable, ongoing state, right? So we kind of, at first there was a huge bubble of work, and I guess at this point that bubble's done, so now we're talking about, we kind of know what the future needs are, because now we're in a kind of a steady state, I guess.
To answer both questions, Richard, a little bit, in the beginning, I certainly wasn't sure whether it was going to be 6 months and done, or whether it was going to be more permanent. At this point, I feel like there's work that they could continue to do. It's conceivable we could reduce it down to a 5-member board at some point.
And how many are on it today?
There's 7 on there, I think, at this point. If we were to make it a more official board, I would ask that you indulge me and just agree to appoint the existing members.
Oh, absolutely, no. Everybody shows up to the meeting, nobody takes it lightly, they're doing a good job.
So and then we have to figure out how many years of the terms, because some things like planning board, it's a 7-member, 7-year term. With the WEC, it's
I
like
wouldn't
2 terms.
do it that long. I know for the WEC, it's, a couple of years.
Right.
That would be my
Right.
suggestion. And I would suggest we could stagger them.
Okay. And then we have a document. Would we update the current document, because the document that's in place today probably can be updated, because now the needs of the future could be different from the needs of the past.
We can all take a look. I'll dig out the document that I had created in the beginning. I'll send it to you, Richard, and the rest of the board, and we can just see if it needs any. It probably doesn't need any, but,
Okay.
I'll offer the suggestions.
And then the other question is,
And what it should, the one thing it would need is updating the term limits.
well, there, yeah. So, and then the other question is, I know we have committees and we have boards, and when you're on some of the boards, you have to go get sworn in to serve on the board. Is this a formal board that we
I
have to get
think they were
sworn
all
in?
sworn in anyway, weren't they?
What's that?
They were all sworn in.
So this would be a formal sworn-in board, unlike a lot of our comp plan committees, or, people just join a committee and they just go there and get sworn in. So this would be a formal sworn-in kind of board,
Probably,
Be an official town.
yeah. because-
or board.
No, well, are we getting into semantics? I don't know. Is there a difference?
Well, yeah, when I go to my Complete Streets Committee, I don't think anybody got sworn in for that. When I go to the WEC, people do get sworn in for that. So I just we ought to agree on what the formality of the board is. That's not.
With the less formal boards, like the task force right now, they serve at the pleasure of the supervisor, or the pleasure of the town board, depending on who.
Yeah.
We could just disband the committee. This is a more formal situation where you just don't go and disband them. There's a process.
Okay, so,
And
so
you don't
is,
just go and remove
so is swearing in going to be
individuals.
part of the process? I just know whether it's swearing.
Technically, really, I think only the zoning board and the planning board actually technically have to be sworn in. I feel that it's good to have them all sworn in because I think it just sets the tone for how important
Yeah.
each of the
Well, I
boards
think
are.
it's, I think it's.
So they've all been sworn in
The
anyway.
housing committee was sworn in.
Yeah, I told them all to I tell everybody to get sworn in,
Yeah, okay.
so. And I would continue that.
Speaking of task forces, I contacted several members of your signage task force that you appointed last November
It
12th.
just happened to have a conversation with them the other day.
And I confirmed that they have not had a
They have
meeting, and they
not.
have no meeting scheduled.
I know that James Conrad was gonna reach out to his folks again, because there was a sign that popped back up in the middle of town, not in the middle of town, the entrance
No,
to town.
back up, I don't get one away.
Well, it's now got advertising back on it.
Oh.
So,
That one, I'm talking something different.
what were you talking about?
We have two signs in the plaza.
Two signs in the plaza. Where's the other one?
Right, just when you turn it, there's two A&P, there's the big
That's the
sign
A&P one.
and the A&P, there's an additional A&P sign.
Oh, that one should go.
But like you said,
I didn't even notice.
Well, I'm thinking, here it is, March, whatever, and this is the time, right? And it's been more than 4 months. If they're going to do anything, this is the time,
Yeah.
right?
Well, we had that conversation, James and I, yesterday, so ask me next week where they're at, and I might have a, hopefully they're getting ready to meet, and
Do they have a leader? I had a sense that maybe they didn't have a leader, and that's why nobody called a meeting. I don't know.
I'll check in with them and see.
Thank you.
What does it need I'm full up, so I'm not volunteering myself. Does it need a town board liaison? Because a lot of our committees do have a town board liaison.
Yeah, I don't think it's that necessary. I think the two groups can meet and discuss and possibly come back. So, anybody have anything else?
Well, I do want to talk about, our zoning revision committee has been alive and well and meeting twice a month, and we're focused on telecommunications. We had a great meeting last night. Jerry Washington, I know Jerry Washington is coming here to present at a town board meeting, the results of the communication committee, the report, etc. He did a great job. He came to our meeting last night. We'd all gotten a copy of the report, but then he had a summary of the hot topics that we're considering for zoning. We also had Gabor Funk last night, who talked about a proposed ordinance of how we can, what can we affect with 5G. So we're discussing that, and then Steve Romine, it turned out that we ran longer with the other topics, and Steve Romine's going to come back in 2 weeks. So on Monday the 23rd, Steve Romine will come and be talking about his thoughts on 5G. So we are looking to, we're covering basically 12 topics on the zoning revision committee. 2 of them have to do with telecommunications, and we're doing a deep dive on telecommunications now. So we had a meeting last night. Our next telecommunications deep dive is going to be on the 23rd. And then we're taking out of all of that, what are the zoning revision changes that we want to recommend. So we're having a big focus there.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that we've noticed that, or some of us have noticed, that bears are back.
The Bears are back.
The bears are back. There's still a lot of garbage cans on the streets. Add it up, bear, garbage can, mess.
Yeah. Oh, I saw my first tick yesterday, by the way, or Sunday. I saw my first tick Sunday.
And I saw
So the
Christmas
ticks are
dinner.
back.
And if your garbage gets picked up on Wednesday and you're putting it out on Sunday, you're gonna have a problem.
Okay. Lauren,
No,
you good?
I'm good.
Reggie?
Okay.
Okay. I believe that the walkers are going to the Civic Design on
Monday.
Monday, and what I was planning to do is have a special meeting the first Tuesday of April with no business other than a presentation by the walkers to the board and the public of that project.
I may or may not have an issue with the first Tuesday of April,
Okay.
but I'll see what I can do. Is there a reason you don't want to have it on the second Tuesday? I know you want to have just that as a topic.
I just want to have no other business, no vote or anything, just a presentation to the public.
Okay, I mean, I may have a problem with that.
Second Tuesday.
First, you're saying the first Tuesday.
First and second Tuesdays.
Passover's on the 8th.
Okay,
The 7th.
so what is the date of the first Tuesday? It is the seventh. Okay, all right. I may have a problem and I'll do what I can.
So
I may
yeah,
have-
you could just note that in the paper, I appreciate it. Anything else? Move to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?